Hi, everybody, and we are live. I'm Julia Lazarek. I'm the founder of Prison The Hidden Sentence, and I'm also co founder of Prison Families Alliance, along with Barbara Allen, who will be joining us shortly. We're doing these episodes. This is the third of three, um, to talk about navigating the holidays when we have an incarcerated loved one, because we know during those times it could be really difficult. And actually, today, I'm not feeling well. I've been sick for the past week. And it really made me think about, during the holidays that when we've got a lot of stress, when we're worried, when we have somebody that's incarcerated or just really anything that's going on, that it really affects our immune system. So during this time, we really need to take care of ourselves. So I think for myself, being under the weather, is really a way for me to share that with everybody because it might be happening to you during the holidays. So just remember to take better care of yourself, especially when you're feeling a little stressed and under the weather. And in the last two episodes, Barbara and I have introduced ourselves and told our stories. And I just wanted to remind you that Barbara and I are authors. We have written books here that I want to share. Barbara has written "Doing Our Time on the Outside," which is her story and has a lot of really good, helpful information if you're feeling like you need a little bit more information, a little bit more help during the holidays or anytime. This would be a great book. And also "Prison: The Hidden Sentence," which is my book, which is what I wish I knew when my brother was incarcerated. So it has everything that I wish I knew. And these books can be purchased on Amazon. So I wanted to share that with you. I wanted to share taking care of yourself as we go through this. We've said throughout all of the episodes that taking care of yourself is the most important. And I'd like to bring Barbara on. And hi, Barbara, how are you doing?
Julia, it's good to see you,
Yeah,
even
this
though
is
it's long distance.
I know, it's so great, and that's another thing too that you can be together during the holidays. Maybe there's people you don't see, and getting together on Zoom or live or however is really helpful too. So how are you doing, during the holidays?
Well, I'm doing okay. I spent almost all day on Friday buying toys. Uh, we are lucky enough to be allowed to go into our county jail, and during the Christmas week, we give out toys to the children who come to visit. And I tell you, that is the best feeling in the world. I had so much fun looking for toys for infants and up through teenagers. Teenagers, it's hard to get toys because they're all into electronics. So we have gift cards that we'll give the teenagers. And I've been doing this for over 30 years.
That's
And
amazing. That is so wonderful, Barbara, and it makes you feel so good. I mean, getting those toys and getting to see the kids and handing them out, that must feel so good.
And you know what's so wonderful about it? When a child goes into the jail, of course, they're visiting either a father, a grandfather, a brother, someone, and they're not happy. Believe me, they're not. But when they see that table that's lined with all kinds of toys, and we tell them that's from the person who's inside. They left that out here for you. And when you leave, you can pick any toy you want, and they're so excited. And it to me, this is the best part of the holidays and has been for all these years. And I hope we can continue doing this as long as I can still walk into that jail.
And I wish we could do it at other jails. I know that we've asked here, and maybe someday we'll have permission to be able to do that. So that's wonderful that you've been able to do that and have permission to do it. And also, you brought up something, and we spoke about this in a previous session, that when somebody is incarcerated and they want to get something for their child, if it can't be at the jail, like what's going on in your area, uh, that when the family does give a present, that it's important that they let their child know that the person that's incarcerated, that it's also from them. right? That was something you had spoken about in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. And because when my husband went to prison, my two children were not allowed into the jail. At that time, the county jail in our community, the one I'm going into on this coming week, if you were under 16, you were not allowed to visit in the jail. So thank goodness we've seen strides, and that's no longer the case. But I know what it was back then when he wasn't there to give them their gifts, and of course it was from Daddy and Mommy.
Yeah, it's so important to keep the family together because children really need to stay connected with their family. And I'd like to bring in Davina. We have a guest here with me today. And Davina, if you can introduce yourself, and I think we could talk more about the impacts on children and families.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Davina Hain. I'm an anger management specialist here in Las Vegas. I work mainly with families, individuals, couples, and navigating conflict and really being able to tolerate conflict in a way that actually gets us toward repair and deepening our connections with one another. So we've seen, of course, an uptick around the holidays of really just this underlying stress and discomfort around having challenging conversations, especially when we're missing those loved ones that are incarcerated that we don't get the time with, and how can we acknowledge the time that we're missing with them while also still enjoying the time that we have with everyone else who is on the outside.
No, thank you. I mean, it's just so important for children to stay connected with their family. So I really appreciate that. And what else have you been seeing? Anything you could share about maybe things that families are doing to stay connected?
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things that I've been seeing that I always advocate for is kind of talking about the uncomfortable, right? We want to be able to acknowledge that this person is not here with us, and even to your and Barbara's point of keeping the children aware of where these gifts are coming from. Just because they're not here presently doesn't mean that they're gone entirely, and that we don't acknowledge where they are and bring life to that. Just because with our kids, with our loved ones, we tend to shy away from these challenging conversations, and especially any that might bring about discomfort. So the more we can advocate for them and keep them here in like our hearts and in our everyday, then the more comfortable we can all be, and the more we can enjoy everything else. So we're definitely seeing a lot more of that. I'm seeing a lot of clients wanting to come in and learn how to do this and really enrich the relationships that they have and connect more.
Oh, it's so important. I just appreciate all the work that you're doing too, because, if somebody has somebody to talk to, whether they're coming to a Prison Families Alliance support group meeting, or, if they're going to speak to somebody getting additional support, it's just so important. And we just keep saying, keeping the family together is so important because, I've on my podcast, I've interviewed youth, and it doesn't matter where their parent is, they still love their parent. And if there's no extenuating circumstances why they can't be together, that they need that. And especially during the holidays, and maybe creating new traditions.
Yeah.
I mean, what are some things that you think some of the families can do to create a new tradition? Something that even though the parent isn't there, that they can do together, or sending a card, or just something that they're
Yeah.
starting to do.
Yeah, really just to acknowledge that. A lot of the reason why we feel so lonely around the holidays is just because we don't feel super skilled in our ability to address these things and navigate these things. So what we always recommend is kind of having a place for the person who isn't here with us, that we can enjoy the time for them. We do an activity, a craft, whatever that might be, with them in mind, set an actual place for them, and everything that we kind of consolidate during that time that's not perishable, of course, we send over to them once that's done, or bring it in once visitation's available. And it's really just a way that just because they're not here with us doesn't mean that they go forgotten. Doesn't mean that we are not allowed to acknowledge them and how much we miss them, and maybe even set aside some time during the meal to address them and talk to each other about the struggles that we're having, and being able to miss them too.
Oh,
The
I love
holidays can
that.
be good and really beautiful, and also it's a grieving period as well.
No, I love it. And in one of the past sessions, somebody said that they would collect things, that they have a box for their loved ones, so that when they're released, so if it's something that the child can't bring to the prison, right, that they can set aside, and then when their parent comes home, they can share it with them.
Yeah. Yeah, we sometimes view those who are incarcerated as kind of like on pause. And in some ways they are, but that doesn't mean that they have to be. We can find ways to include them in our day-to-day things, and celebrations and holidays are no different.
Oh, it's wonderful. Yeah, because we're talking about the holidays and how to navigate the holidays, and things that we can do, and we've spoken about all kinds of things that other people are doing, and I'd like to come back to this, and we do have another guest that we'd like to bring on, and her name is Denise Guest from Yavapai, Arizona. She's going to talk more about where she's from, and Denise, if you could tell us more about what you do, and share some of the things that we spoke about, and then we'll come on after you share with us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, first, I just want to say thank you to Julia and Barbara for everything that they do. Prison Family Alliance is just, it's an incredible, incredible support group, and I just want to say thank you for everything that you guys do. My name is Denise Guest, and I work for Yavapai County Detention Center in Yavapai County, Arizona. I am a civilian here that I work with the inmates. We do a lot of inmate support with helping them get things done in the jail, notaries, books, anything that they need to get done. We work with that, but also I work with the families that come in for visitation. We have a visitation center that is set up for the families to come in and be able to visit, unfortunately on a monitor. There's no in-person visits, but to get them in so they can have a good, comfortable experience. We really work towards making the families and kids that come in have an enjoyable visit with positive motivational things that are set up here in the center. Inside the jail, we always try to decorate for the holidays and make it as festive as possible, not only for the families, but for the inmates too. We get a little bit crazy when we dress up in our holiday garb, but it is what it is. The inmates enjoy it and the families enjoy it. But we do work to make them comfortable and help them have as good of an experience as they can have when they're here visiting at the jail.
Thank you so much. I just thought it was so important to bring you on, because people need to realize that, people that are working in the jails and in the prisons, that a lot of them do care, and a lot of them do want to make things special, for when families come to visit. I do want to make a note for anybody that is on Facebook that you can put your questions in there, or we'll go ahead and scroll a phone number that you can call if you'd like to call in with any questions or stories that you'd like to share. So I just wanted to put that out there, because people might have questions for Denise. And, Denise, you also speak to the families when they come in. Is there any stories that you can share that when a family came in that maybe you helped them, or that when they saw their loved one, that there is a special you, unity uniting them together? Sorry, my words aren't coming today, but yeah, if you could share any stories that you have.
Well, when families come in, especially when they come in for the first time, they're nervous, they're upset. A lot of them have tears in their eyes when they're walking in the door. It's not a comfortable feeling. It's very it's something that they're just so totally out of place. Getting them in and getting them comfortable in a booth and getting them, just sitting down and talking to them, getting their loved one on the monitor and set up to talk. Usually, a lot of times sometimes it's very tearful. And when they get done, I have my box of Kleenex, I have my bottles of water here for them, and we usually chat for quite a few minutes until they're comfortable and calm down and breathing. And when they walk out the door, they're feeling okay. Getting them involved in this group, I think, is going to be very helpful. But they're as time goes by and goes on, as they come in, they're more comfortable, and try they try to work with the inmate and bring down their anger on the inside too, making them comfortable when they're here. Uh, Helps make it more comfortable when they're talking to their loved one. So that's just a big part of what I do here.
I think it's so wonderful. I mean, don't you agree having somebody there when you go visit that is going to hand you a tissue that I just think of when I visited my brother, I didn't have people that were so compassionate to me. And, just thinking if somebody had just like said a nice word to me, given me a bottle of water, just showed that they cared, it would have made that drive home so much easier. And also coming in, like you're there when you come in. So, like you said, that they're calm, right, when they go to visit their loved one. How much better is it when you go in, to see someone? Somebody goes in to see somebody that's incarcerated, right, and they're
Yeah.
calmer.
Well, and even and especially when we're talking about Denise's point of like that anger that exists within us, really being able to acknowledge it, right, and be able to talk openly about that with our loved one that is incarcerated, that it doesn't have to be all cupcakes and rainbows, and pretending like we're not going to have to separate very shortly after this visit. It really does allow for us to acknowledge this grief that's in the room and get on the same page about it. And that way, when the family leaves, when the inmate does go back in, that no one's feeling like anything was left unsaid or that they're just not being heard and understood. And that's usually the quickest thing to kind of reduce that anger, is feeling heard.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, Denise, we just appreciate your time here and sharing and what you're doing out there working with the families, and especially during the holidays. I mean, just think when you go to visit and you walk in and the person there that's bringing you in, that's signing you in is dressed up,
Yeah.
and festive and maybe smiling. I mean, Denise has a great personality, and just to be able to have somebody like her out there. We hope that more people that listen to this that maybe are in law enforcement, that are students that are going into law enforcement or anything like that, that that they take something from this, that you can be festive, because the more festive you are, the better it is for the families, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So and we appreciate what you're doing and the support that you're going to be giving to the families out there. Thank you so much for your time, Denise. We so appreciate you.
Thank you. Take care.
So, Barbara, how are you doing?
Okay, I was just listening and thinking how wonderful to have someone who was there for you when you get into that room. And I have a question. I wonder whether these visits are all video visits. Here we have contact visits where people can actually hold one another's hand and have some kind of human touch.
Is that in the jail?
In the jail and most of the prisons, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know most prisons, but let's ask
My
Denise.
jail is.
She's still out there, so let's ask her. What are the visits like there? Is it video or?
They're all video visits. It's
Oh,
it's yeah, it's just having a large population here. It's very difficult to have in-person visits, especially when you have it takes a lot of staff to have in-person visits, and sometimes it's just we just can't do it. So
It's
they're
like
all
that
they're all
here
video
too.
visits.
Yeah, Denise, it's like that here too. And the prisons are in person, but the jails are video
no.
too.
Yeah.
Our jails, I mean, they weren't always, but it makes such a big difference when you can go in and actually hug somebody. And I was even thinking when you were speaking, kind of laughingly to myself, about how about some mistletoe? But
That's wonderful. Yeah. Leave it to Barbara to always add a little humor because you got to laugh, right? You got to have humor. You got to have joy, right? We got to add that. And you brought up a great point, Barbara, because every city, every state, it's not the same.
I
So
know.
in New York, it's and or where you are in New York in jails that they can have in person. Here, where we are in Las Vegas, that it's not in person. It's not in Yavapai. Maybe in other parts of the states, it could be, or other states. So it's just interesting, and I think that first of all, we just got to get through the holidays. We've got to
Mhm.
advocate for ourselves, and as we get stronger, we can advocate and have a stronger voice out there for change because we know that being in person is so important.
Well,
So,
I want to thank you for all that you do and for that box of tissues and that water. I related so much to that as you were speaking.
Thank you, Barbara.
oh, well, got a little tickle in my throat there. Excuse me. Uh, so that was great. Anything else to add, Barbara, before we go on to our next guest?
Well,
Um,
yeah, there are just so many things that we can do, and they're not all easy. I'm thinking about a parent who's incarcerated when they have their phone visitation or however with the children, perhaps to read a book about Santa Claus or some kind of tradition that you can share with your child through literature, through reading. And that's always a good way of relating and getting a little bit closer. We have to find whatever we can, anything that can link us.
Thank you so much. I just had a little coughing fit, but I'm okay now. So we'd like to bring in our next guest, who is Natalie.
Hi.
Hi, Natalie. Is anybody else with you, or is it just you?
Becky should be also on if you want to bring her on. She should
Okay,
be
so
backstage.
yeah, Natalie Calderon and Becky, they're from Pelipost, and they have a really good story about how they handle the holidays and things that help. So, Natalie, I'm just going to turn it over to you guys. You can introduce yourselves, take a few minutes to talk about, what you guys during the holidays and what you do to help people.
Of course. So I am Natalie Calderon. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Pelipost, and we have Becky here, who is our Chief Operating Officer. And she has a lot of experience with, the ins and outs of celebrating holidays with being incarcerated. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to her, and she can speak to it and the importance of it.
Hi, can you hear me? Am I good? Okay. Um, Hi. Yes, my experience from being inside with the holidays is very important because I feel that I'm able to give a little insight on what it feels like to be inside. A lot of things that I hear from the people on the outside are worried about what they can share. Are they going to hurt our feelings inside? They don't want to share too much because they think that it's going to make us feel bad inside. I can speak for myself on this one. It did not make me feel bad. The more I was shared with, the more I received, the happier it made me. And not just me, it became a thing where if I would receive pictures, if I would receive Christmas cards or Thanksgiving cards, we share inside of our cell or in the day room or wherever we were. And it brought not just the one person joy, but a lot of people joy. So um, I just wanted to give that um, insight from my point of view. It's a gift that you're able to see people having fun, people aging, even people. And what I mean by that is you see your family once a year sometimes when it comes to the outside world, and it's the same when you're inside. So you want to see the little baby that was born last year grow up. Oh, look, now he's walking, and take pictures of them walking. um, you want to include, the more you can include in pictures. And the reason I say pictures is because that was my main form of seeing life on the outside. um, so that's why when I would ask my son for pictures, I it was so important to me. And that is why he created the app. That is why we've been around 6 years trying to make it easier for people to upload photos, send photos, just trying to make it easy. Because one thing that I did find, and it's a very important point, is when I was in the inside, all I did was wait for mail call, wait for the photos to come. But now that I'm on the outside, I really understand my friends on the inside are waiting for photos, but I'm working, running around, cleaning the house, cooking, all the things that come with being in the outside world that take up time. Like, oh my goodness, I haven't found time to send these pictures. I haven't found time to send a letter. It's so different because I've got to see both worlds, and they're separated so far. One is just sitting waiting, and one is running around taking care of life, especially when they're caregivers and all of these. So what we're trying to do is just make it easier, for people just to upload pictures, send pictures, don't have to run to the post office. Um, and we're building a community too, to try and share our understanding from the inside and the outside perspective.
No, that
So
is so helpful, Becky. Thank you. I mean, it's so important, and that's, hearing the perspective from somebody that was incarcerated and how important that communication is, especially during the holidays, right? To get those pictures and to get those letters. And I think, um, Natalie, that you wanted to tell us a little bit about. Becky was talking about the app, and I don't think a lot of people understand. So, just really high level, because when Becky was incarcerated, and these pictures were so important, and you could hear Becky and Natalie on the prison the hidden sentence podcast talking about their whole story. But if you could just tell a little bit about how Pelipost was started because of that high level, and how important the pictures were, and it was because of how important they were to Becky and to others who were incarcerated.
Yeah, of course. So, Pelipost is a mobile app, for those of you who don't know, where loved ones on the outside can upload their photos easily from their smartphone. And we at Pelipost, those get transmitted to us, and we physically print them and ship them to correctional facilities across the United States. So it's an easier way to send photos rather than, having to send them to, a Walgreens or this and having to go pick them up. And it just gives you that privacy, having them printed, and not having to go pick them up. And it just kind of cuts out all that time wasted. So we print them next business day and we send them out. So, and obviously we specialize in correctional facility delivery, so we have that insight on what should be accepted and what shouldn't. We try to help our customers navigate this whole new world. For some people that are new, never had an incarcerated loved one, it can be very, as you guys have mentioned in the discussions, very difficult, emotional. And that's why we try to kind of bridge that gap and emotions and try to make it more of a positive, or just we have a blog that we try to explain how things work, and things like that. You, Julia, know in your book, you have a whole book about how what you wish you would have known. So we try to do the same thing. So that's how it works. And how it got started was with Becky's son. She, was incarcerated while he was in college, and that's a busy time for a kid. So he had to work. He was going to classes. She was incarcerated like 3.5 hours, 4 hours away from him. So it was very difficult to stay in touch, visit as often as he'd want. And she was always asking for pictures, and he's very busy, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll send them to you. I'll send them to you." And I don't think he realized how important they were to her until later on, and then they talked about it. But, she finally did get some pictures from him eventually, after he went to get them printed and mailed them. And, they meant so much more to her than he ever could have imagined. And that's when he kind of came up with, well, there has to be a easier, faster way to do it. And he started developing this app and kind of ran the idea with Becky, and then they ran with it, and here we are now. So
No, what I think is so amazing is not only what you guys have developed and how important pictures are, and especially during the holidays, and that's why we brought you on.
mhm,
It's that you know what each facility needs.
mhm,
You do your research. So if it has to be a certain size or a certain color, or if it has to be black and white, or it can be in color, a certain paper, or a
yeah,
certain size, or whatever it is, you guys have all of that information, and you do the work, so we don't have to. And I know, like, when we're grieving, when we're sad, when we're like, one more thing I got to figure out, I've got to call the prison, I've
mhm.
got to look this up. What is it? Why did they change it? And it changes all the time.
Thanks
and,
all the
and
time. Yeah.
like, yeah, and you guys keep up with that, so I really
Mhm.
appreciate that. And I love the story, about how Becky has spoken about the joy of seeing the family. I mean, I just remember that when we spoke before, and especially during the holidays. So I just want to thank you both for coming on, for giving us the perspective for both inside and outside, and what you're doing to help everybody. And then if you could just tell us how people get in touch with you. What is your website?
Yeah, they can go to pelipost.com, and that's Pelipost.com. And there's, everything about us, even their story. There's a video about their story and stuff like that. So if you guys want to learn more about us, or, just there's also, you can order photos from there. You can download the app and the Google Play or Apple App Store.
It's really incredible what the two of you are doing, just considering how you're facilitating these connections and so much ease within them. And even if we have the time to put together a bit of a care package, it can be distressing. And I can imagine that's kind of what makes us avoid it, maybe put it off
Mhm.
longer. And so what you're providing is it's incredibly helpful. And you're that middle
Yeah.
between loneliness. You're making that connection. It's a really beautiful thing. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and we really love, helping our customers. I feel like we have one of the best customer support teams in our industry. Our reviews speak volumes. So they know our customers, they are always kind of on edge because of how, they're treated in some instances with facilities and having to call, and their emotions are running high. So we always try to be there for them and answer any questions. So we always encourage them to reach out to, our support team if they don't know what to do. And before they send photos, if you don't know, we'd rather you contact us than your loved one not get them, and then it gets returned, and it's a whole, missed opportunity for them to receive it in a timely fashion. So, and it looks like we have a question. How many photos can be sent at a time? Does this depend on facility? And yes, you're correct. It does depend on the facility. Yes. And we do put the rules in for each facility. So if you choose a facility, you'll go through the process, and in there will tell you, it'll only let you upload how many you're able to send in the app. That's correct, right, Becky?
Yes, absolutely. Some are 5, some are 10, some are 25. The guidelines are in the app too, so it'll let you know what kind of photos they will allow, will not allow. We do our research. This is a lot of hard work, but we're dedicated to it because we know what it means to have the pictures arrive and
Mhm,
delivered to your loved one. I know
mhm,
the joy that they feel, So we do our best to get that information right so that the pictures are not rejected or not sent back. Um, yeah, but
Mhm.
it differs, and it's in the app. Once you put down your app, your facility information, um, everything that we can offer, the information we have is what we provide.
Well, I want to thank Les for that question. And let's see if Barbara has any questions too. And while she's coming back on, I just wanted to bring out one of the things that I learned was that I was afraid to send pictures at first because I thought that it would make my brother sad.
Mhm.
And so, just letting people know, letting everybody know that's listening, you speak to your loved one, right? To make sure that it's okay. But it brings them joy, hearing what Becky says and speaking to other people that are incarcerated or have been incarcerated, that they do enjoy pictures. So if your loved one does, want that, if it's something that will bring them joy, right, that you do send them pictures, however you do it. And I sent my brother pictures. Uh, it was, quite a while ago, and he did enjoy them. And Barbara, I didn't know if you had anything to add.
Well, I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I think it's such a wonderful thing that you're doing. And I'm thinking about the different rules that every prison has. Um, I recently sent a card to someone who was incarcerated, and I put a label, an address label on it,
Mhm.
and it came back to me
Yes.
because they changed that. We were always allowed to put a label on. Now it's not allowed. Now, with the
Mhm.
service you provide, I wouldn't have had to worry about that if I was sending pictures. There's so many nuances and so many things that we don't know. And it's so wonderful that we have people like yourselves who were there helping us and kind of leading the way. So thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
And yes, no labels, no stamps,
That's right. Well,
nothing.
that's right.
I
As I
learned
was,
no sparkles on your cards either.
Oh,
No,
I
no.
was,
no, nothing.
I
Even
was just,
perfume, they
yeah,
they'll send it back if it has a smell of some sort. Yeah, so.
I
You
was
know,
Oh, we
just
go through it.
I just mailed out some cards to some of the people who are incarcerated who I communicate with. And as I was putting it in the mailbox, I said, please, I hope they can get this because I don't know if I did anything wrong. If I did, it was certainly unintentional.
Right.
Yeah.
Like even the type of material that cards are printed on. Like
Mhm.
all the federal prisons don't like cardstock material. So we figured out a way to print them on paper that is not cardstock to allow all those incarcerated individuals to be able to receive cards. So we got around the cardstock rule. We print them on different paper. And
Mhm.
yes, because rules, they're constantly changing and you have to keep up with the times to try and still get these things delivered to their loved ones.
Mhm.
That's such great information. I mean, for people that are out there that want to send things to their loved ones, and it's so frustrating when he gets returned. So,
Mhm.
having this information is
For
important.
us too, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So, I just want to thank you again. Are there any other questions out there?
I have a question for Becky. Actually, I was curious because you've been able to see it on both sides. Do you have suggestions for families who kind of don't know how to navigate that conversation of whether they want to receive photos, or even if they're on the inside and don't want to receive them, how to approach that so that they don't offend their family members on the outside that may want to send them?
You know, I found that the best technique was just when I had my best friend, and she literally just wrote to me and asked me, will it add joy to your life to receive pictures, or is it something you prefer I don't do? And I appreciated that so much because, it was a good question. And so my response was, it will add joy to my life. But, we have to understand that most people, all you have to do is ask. And some people may say, it's too hard right now, or maybe next year, or something like that. But um, you don't want to miss out on an opportunity to share some joy by not asking or not finding out. That's how I would approach it, because to me, when I was incarcerated, my father was older, and just seeing him sitting around at the table, or seeing him at my son's college graduation, that was for me such a gift that, had I missed out on seeing that, like I say, the way I would explain it is, when I was feeling so low, it felt like it was refueling my tank when I received these pictures. It made me fight to keep going. So, um, but ask. That's all. There's nothing wrong
Yeah,
with that.
and
Yeah.
that's so, what you just said is so important, because, and that goes with all kinds of communication.
Mhm.
Be open with the person. The person incarcerated is still a thinking, caring person.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
and so I think that keeping the real world, and I don't want to speak for you certainly, but I tell the families often that we have to bring reality into the prison.
Mhm.
People will be coming home one day, and we want to keep it real. Everything out here isn't all wonderful.
Mhm.
Right.
We have, and I feel that that's, and thank you for that. The communication, so important.
Yes. You're welcome.
Denise is out there. Denise, did you have a question? How many people can we put on the screen?
Many as we want.
Denise, did you have a question? Did you
I,
have something to add?
I don't really have a question. I was commenting on the private chat to Natalie and Becky about how we receive these at the jail, and they're great, absolutely fabulous. They
Small
take the
world.
stress.
Thank you.
They do. They take the stress out of approving mail. They come in, they're clean. A lot of times photos come in and they get rejected because there's tape on the back of the photo, or they wrote it in jail ink, or a roller ball, or something that, is not allowed to come into the jail. So this is just fabulous. We love it. We love you. Thank you. Thank
Aw.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
You so much. I
This
love
is
your
so. Go ahead, Becky.
No, I love hearing that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, this is so wonderful when I look at everybody on the screen here, and just the information that we shared for the people that are out there, because navigating the I'll call it the carceral system, because as Barbara said the very first time, the criminal justice system, that there's no justice. That was on our first episode. So, but really, traversing through the whole carceral system is so difficult, and especially during the holidays. And I think what everybody's shared here, just about bringing families together, things that we've gone through, things that, how do you send things? How do you communicate? Things that you can do. I think it was just so wonderful, and I just want to thank everybody for sharing. And since we have everybody, I kind of like to do like a round robin, and just any last words, and then as you give your last words, well, you can drop off. So, Denise, any last words to our families out here that are going through the holidays? And don't forget, this is going to be broadcast. This is going to be on the prison, the Hidden Sentence podcast. So people are going to be listening to this even after the holidays. So it's things that they can do during the holidays, but also special events. There's birthdays, there's anniversaries. There's all these things when our loved one isn't there that we experience this this grief, or like me, getting sick, right? What is it you'd like to share?
Just when the families and loved ones come in, they call us a lot on the telephone and ask us questions about what they can and can't do, and it's just, my reaction with them is just to try to help them stay as positive as possible, because it's hard on the person that's incarcerated. It's just as hard as on them. And I know it's difficult to go in and sit and visit on a monitor, and they start crying, and when they come out, it's just trying to give them that positive boost to try to, try to keep it on a positive level as best you can.
Well said. Well said. Thank you. You have a wonderful day. Thank you, Denise. And then Becky, do you want to go next?
I do. I have one tradition suggestion that I think would be amazing if people would want to try it is, so one thing that people can do is when you take pictures, um, say around the holiday for Christmas or whenever, one thing is when you take a picture, you're smiling or you're posing, and when we receive it, when we're inside, it's just a picture of you. But one thing that a friend of mine did is they would write on a whiteboard a message to me. And each, like, they got together a group of friends and each one wrote a different message and took the picture with it. And so when I received the picture and I'm looking through the picture, I'm getting their message of what they were thinking at that time. And I've
Oh.
always wanted to share that because it's an amazing idea and it made me so happy. And I just thought of that.
No, that's wonderful. We talked about in previous sessions about creating new traditions. So just think of that a whiteboard or a big post-it or I don't know,
Mhm.
something to write on
Yeah.
there. Wouldn't that be
Yeah.
wonderful? Thank you so much, Becky. Thank you for
Thank you.
being here and for sharing your story. And have a great day. And we'll go to Natalie. Thank you, Natalie, for being here.
Of course. One thing I wanted to add to that we've noticed was that you don't always have to, because some people run out of things. They're like, well, what am I going to send? I've already sent pictures last week. Like, I don't know what kind of pictures to send anymore. And I know we had discussed that with Becky, and we're like, what else can people send? We need to inspire people to help them stay in contact more. And some of the things that she was like, just they would love to see you walking the dog, maybe just a picture of Christmas lights or just like simple things, what you had for dinner, or like just it doesn't have to be just you posing in the picture. So just those little things, just remember they want to see even the simplest of things. Maybe you rearrange the furniture in the living room. They would love to see it. It's a piece of home that's delivered to them, and so it just helps them, be still involved and see all the things that you're doing, just everyday life is something that I think they would want to see. So just some things to think about when taking pictures. But yeah, other than that, just reminding everybody that we don't just do photos here at Pelipost. That you can also we have greeting cards and you can do letters, and we have calendars you can send into, and they're all printed on obviously approved paper. So but yeah, just think of us, and we're happy you invited us, and we really appreciate you guys.
No, thank you so much. And what's the website again?
Pelipost.com. Pelipost.
Thank you. Thanks, Natalie. You take
Thank you
care.
so
Have a
much.
wonderful holiday, and
Happy
we'll
holidays,
be in
guys.
touch. Well, I think we had a great day so far.
Yeah.
So much information.
Yeah. What a community is out there.
Yeah, there's so much great information, and one of the things that we were talking about was about the communication
Mhm.
on video,
Right.
and so we kind of wanted to elaborate on that a little bit um, um, with anyway, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, we were kind of just chatting in between about the idea of the virtual visits. I'm not super familiar with whether they go on site for the virtual or whether it is actually possible for them to correspond in between. But really just the ease of that as well, that there has to be some benefit there if we are traveling long distances in order to see them in person, if there is a bit of a go around where we can still get that kind of face-to-face interaction without being in person.
That would be so nice.
Mhm.
I haven't heard of it. I don't know. Maybe Barbara has. Um,
Yes, I have.
yeah. So
I've been very involved with this over the many years. When my husband was arrested, we did not have contact visits. And at the county jails was the telephone and that screen, that plexiglass that separated us. And we had one prison in New York State that you're all familiar with, Sing Sing, that is in every movie. But they had contact visits, and then every other prison did not. Well, my mission in life was to get contact visits in every prison, and I went on a spree, and we managed to get contact visits in every single prison in New York State. Now, the video visitation, I understand it really has its benefits for people who are far away and that's the only contact they have. But my fear is that because prisons, the walls are built to keep us out anyway. They do not want us in the prisons, so they're going to use the video visitation, say it's working wonderfully. Why have contact visits? And there is nothing in the world more meaningful than a hug. You hug your father, your whoever it is that's incarcerated, and for both parties. So my fear is that they're going to use video visitation as an excuse not to have contact visits anymore.
Well, I think what we need to do is stress how important it is, like we keep saying, to keep the family together, but also how important that is, human touch. Because as we know that the more communication that they have, the better the person that is incarcerated behaves, and the better the healthier the family is on the outside.
Yeah, and I mean, even like that physical stimulation of that co-regulation is actually what helps us manage our stress more effectively, and it really does allow for us to regulate our emotions in such a different way that I can imagine that kind of being repressed and shoved down will of course manifest into problematic behaviors.
And we just need to keep putting that out there and letting people that are in the prisons and the jails know how important it is. So Barbara, it's true, that's a fear I think we all have, that it will replace in person. But I think as we have our support groups, as we talk to people, as we do sessions like this, that we just get out there how important it is, and that when and if it does come up where they are not letting us do in-person visits, that we stand up like you have to make a difference. So I just thank you for everything that you've done, and just being a partner for Prison Families Alliance. And I think, do you want to just take a minute and tell people what Prison Families Alliance is before we wrap up?
Prison Families Alliance is a support group for families. We share our experience, our strength, and our hope. And we do become a family. That word is not in there accidentally. We're and it's families helping families. We are not professionals. We are peers, and we have the most wonderful facilitators. How many meetings do we have a month, Julia? 13.
We have 18 facilitators, and we have between 14 and 18 meetings. It all depends on what we're doing that month.
And and people, I am a co-facilitator on 2 of the meetings, and the most wonderful feeling I get is when someone says, "You've made a difference," and they're not saying it to me; they're saying it to the group, because, as I said, we all share experience, strength, and hope. And that's really basically that logo there, a heart behind bars. That's basically who we are. And I got 2 calls. I said the calls have been elevating through the holidays. I got a call yesterday and a call today from 2 different people who did not know each other, and said, "Hello, is this corrections?" They thought it was jail. And luckily, I was able to help them both, deal with what they were looking for. But our reputation is beyond us.
Yeah, this is between the 2 organizations that came together, there's over 70 years experience, and we continue to support the families that are out there. And I think the website was scrolling, and you can reach us at prisonfamiliesalliance.org. And we just are here to provide support, information, and Davina.
Advocacy, right?
Yeah.
That's what I think is so important about what the 2 of you are doing here. And I'm beyond honored to be involved in any way that I am. It's really that this population can feel so forgotten and the families out here can feel, a level of discomfort and sometimes embarrassment around what's happening. And what the two of you are doing is really bringing that to the forefront and owning it. And there really is nothing embarrassing about this. It's connection and love and support and circumstance and seeing our way through all of that.
I say I keep a soapbox in my car because the more I can speak about it, the more I will.
And that's so important. And that's why we do what we do. We want to raise awareness and we want to remove the stigma. And we just want to wish everybody a happy holiday, whether you're listening to this before the holidays, if you're listening to it after the holidays, that whatever you're celebrating, as birthdays come up, as anniversaries come up, as holidays come up, that you find joy, that you can have joy, that you take care of yourself, and that we've helped a little bit. So thank you, everybody, and take care.